And there we are. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. My name is Kiwat and I am the project coordinator here with Music Victoria. Today, we're going to be talking about some social skills and addressing the awkward in the sort of like in a post-COVID world. But before we start, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Kulin nations, of which lands we are on today. Sovereignty has never been ceded. I myself am a proud Eastern Torres Strait Islander man from the islands of Ulgar and Arab in the Eastern Torres Strait. I'm a guest on these lands, and it is always important to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of wherever you are from. Also, while we're doing the acknowledgements, I'd also like to acknowledge that there might be some triggering content in today's session. It was addressed to us last time in our first session, and that there might be some triggering content. So just to, these mental health sessions activate strong emotions and can trigger some individuals. So please know that please know you have agency and autonomy within our sessions. And if you feel unsafe, you can leave the Zoom at any time. If you need to debrief or support, please reach out to BREE directly via our website or bree@musicvictoria.com.au. We aim to always ensure a non-judgmental and safe space. As such, we'd ask all members to consider the value of respect during this webinar as well. Joining me is the one and only Bree Chapman-Stewart. Thank you very much, Bree. Big round of applause. Amazing.
Thank you, Kiwat.
I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, man. And also, thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate hanging out with you this morning. It's super lovely. I love like a nice, cozy little group. So, as Kiwat said, we're going to do it a little bit differently today, and we're kind of going to work on the fly for the bit in the middle. But I wanted to just talk about the impacts of COVID on our brains in terms of rebuilding social skills. So, Kiwat, can you see the slides too of the cute people playing guitar?
Yes.
Awesome. So this is sort of the overview for today. So, the Managing Angry Punters webinar that we had a couple of weeks ago was great. It was a lot of kind of just basic skill building. Whereas today it's going to be a little bit lighter, as Kiwat said, considering any discussion around mental health can bring things up for us. And I've got a little bit of time at the end for a nice little grounding exercise. It's Thursday. So for some of you, you'll be going into your work week over the weekend, going to gigs, maybe supporting your venues. And for others, we're wrapping the week up. But either way, it'll be nice to do a grounding session together so we can sort of just round out the week, So we'll be looking at the impact COVID had on our social skills, how we rebuild them. And when I say how we rebuild them, they're just tips, some evidence-based tips that you can take away. If you're feeling a little bit stuck when you're out with your mates or you're at a gig, just some ideas that you can take away. And we'll look at how you can address those awkward moments, in these sessions I've been having with people over the last 6 weeks at Music Victoria. People are just feeling awkward, and I think that's totally understandable. So we'll look at how to manage that as it happens on the fly. And our values and social interaction. We'll do our Q&A right before our grounding exercise as well. Alrighty, so let's jump into it. And just to remind you, as Kiwat said, I'm the mental health clinician consultant at Music Victoria. It's been an absolute honour to work with everyone I have so far. If anything comes up at all, please connect in with me. A part of the service offering isn't just free one-to-one confidential chats with me, but we can also loop you or your business into financial counselling services and small business advisory services as well. So don't forget, the service is quite broad. We'll put in the chat box where on the website you can find more information. So the mental health service section has a bit more info that can help inform your decision as well. So prolonged isolation, it affects memory and it affects verbal recall, right? So if something I've been hearing again and again in sessions is people having that sort of brain fog. They go to say a sentence as they come back out into the world and just the brain and the tongue aren't working together. So your hippocampus is actually directly affected by prolonged bouts of social isolation, and it will cause memory loss and it will impair basically the way we can use our language. So I don't know all the wanky schmanky deep information from psychoanalysts about the prefrontal cortex, but I do know that, even before COVID, there were so many studies done around how isolation will adversely impair our learning and memory. People with smaller social networks or less complex social networks actually tend to have a smaller amygdala. And this is this really primitive thing in our brain, but it's really powerful, and it's our brain's emotion processing center, right? So if you've had chronic loneliness too, it can affect your hormones, and that will affect your levels of stress, your social bonding. So if you're feeling a bit weird and you're like, what is going on? Why can I not string a sentence together? There's years and years of research prior to COVID as to how isolation and loneliness literally impacts the neuroplasticity of your brain. And the reason, I don't like to get too deep into pretending I'm a scientist, because I'm absolutely not. But the reason I thought I'd mention it is, we tend to be really hard on ourselves. As we come out the back of this, we just expect, I'm just going to be exactly as I was in 2019. I'm going to go straight back into my usual rhythm of hitting the stage, going to gigs, booking musicians, booking artists, running a pub, whatever your day-to-day may entail. So just understanding some of the science can help to self-nurture a little bit and not be so hard on ourselves. Of course, too, I want to take a quick nod to Victoria as well, because Victoria was under a very different sort of extended isolation. We broke a world record there over the last 18 months. So, what we went through collectively is a trauma that's sort of unheard of, and something like that, like being forced into your homes for extended periods, also takes away your sense of agency and autonomy, right? So there's a fear there as well, like, am I going to lose that again? So again, just acknowledging all these different things that your resiliency has had to navigate over the last 18 months. People that have social anxiety prior to COVID or generalized anxiety disorder may also find it's a little bit more to navigate. So a huge nod and credit to the resilience of people living with the diagnosis as well. So I'm just gonna, I really wanted to give you all really easy, tangible tips to take away today that you can lean on if you find you're getting stuck. So I've just got 3 quick fire tips here. And I'm really keen after this, we'll shoot over to Kiwat and have a little discussion to see if there's anything else we could pull out. I don't doubt that Kiwat, being a very emotionally intelligent human being, has some ideas as well. And I don't doubt that some of you have ideas. But in terms of my work in mental health and sort of some of the strategies I've seen clients take away as they're rebuilding social skills, the first one is just starting with small moments. So if you can find tiny ways to sneak friendly, casual interactions into your day, even if it's not something you normally do. So something like someone walks past you with a cute dog, tell them. Start a conversation with your barista, even just smiling at someone waiting in the line next to you at the supermarket. These little micro skills can start to help you remember old cues that used to be second nature. So I think we sometimes undervalue the small, tiny habits that we can incrementally introduce into our days again. Because remember, if you extend a conversation with your barista a minute longer, or smiling to a stranger in a line at Bunnings over months and months and months, that builds up into a really big skill, So just knowing that compounding little things will kind of result in a comfortable social rhythm over time. It'll make it easier to do the slightly bigger tasks, like perhaps attend an event or rock up to rehearsal with your band for the first time in a year, face to face. Also, as always, and I think I said this at the last webinar too, if you want a PDF of this after the workshop, we can send that around, and there's little wanky schmanky references at the bottom. So if you like the science and the evidence base behind things, there's also further reading at the bottom of each slide. The long game on avoidance. So basically, avoidance is really hard in the long game. When we think about interacting with others and our social skills and, how we're able to just, oh, hey, you going, mate, da-da-da, and like get through all the social events in a week as we've been in isolation for so long, a huge factor that affects whether or not we're going to go out and actually give it a go is self-portrayal. Like we all care about what our peers think of us to a degree. So people who are very anxious as well tend to look for ways to avoid the things that make them anxious naturally. In fact, people who aren't anxious do that as well, right? Like I've got to ring the ATO, and it gives me gives me so much anxiety. That's my task for the week, right? So I'm just going to put it off and off and off. But maybe I start by ringing ANZ, because that's an easier task. Or maybe I'll start by doing the call to my real estate agent. Again, exposure therapy has a lot of success. You know, we've all heard that thing of, if you're afraid of spiders, bring a spider in the room in the jar, then put it on the table closer to the person. It's sort of that same notion. If you're afraid of flying, hang out at the airport for a bit, just be around planes. So this is a skill you can self-apply. Like, you can go away right now and in small increments integrate into your natural state of being again. That can also just sort of look like, and I'm actually about to jump into this on the next one, but it doesn't have to be 4 events this week, you know. I think it's easy to compare and contrast ourselves against our most extroverted friends at the moment. I can honestly tell you that the extroverts are feeling it too, you know, and if you come out into the world and you go straight back to your old routine, I'm going to do an interstate trip to see family, go to a big event, see a couple of people this week, you might find that you'll actually crash quite quickly, which again is really, really understandable and something I've seen across a few of the sessions. But you might just start with 1 or 2 friends, you know, that you're seeing regularly for the first few weeks. Honoring the weirdness. So this is, I've got to be honest, I stole this one from a client recently. I just thought it was such an amazing story. But I had a client who went out to a lunch, or I think it was a lunch or a dinner, with a few different people. I think there might have been 4 of them total. And about halfway through the conversation, her words weren't coming out right, and she felt really anxious, and she just called it. So she just said, sorry, this is weird for me. Like, okay, let me just reset that sentence I just started. So she had a really beautiful moment there where the other people with her actually acknowledged it as well. They were like, oh my God, yes, this is so strange. Why is this so difficult to do? So acknowledging when things are awkward is often the quickest way to get past discomfort. And I think we forget that we can reset ourselves at any moment. And it's a very useful skill to build regardless of pandemics. You know, you see a lot of leaders, even people standing up at TED Talks, and they go, shit, hang on, reset. I just need to go back to the start of that sentence. That felt a bit weird. Let me go again. It's one of these ones that we might really have to confront a fear to do, because as, you know, human beings, we just always expect ourselves to be perfect and flawless. But the reality is that we're inherently flawed. None of us are going to be perfect coming out of this. So remembering to just nurture yourself a little bit if you stuff up, or if something weird happens, you know, or there's a relationship fracture somewhere because you're just not navigating things as you used to. You know, it's huge what we've just been through. Honor that weirdness. If you can, feel free to call it out with the people you're around. And also making sure too that just as we're coming out of this pandemic, being really conscious and intentional about who we're spending time with in our downtime. Is it someone that makes us feel safe, you know? And that looks different for everyone. For me, my safest people are my friends and my partner. You know, for others, it might be family or colleagues. So just being really intentional about where you're practicing these new skills as well. But what I want to know, and I think we're doing well for time, Kiwat, what's your experience been, you know, like if we can throw to you, what's it been like?
I mean, I definitely, like, with the small moments, I definitely feel that, I feel that really, really close to me, because I remember, I think it was sort of around between lockdowns 3 and 4, we'll come back out and some live music was playing, and I hadn't played or rehearsed anything in months, or maybe even close to a year. It'd been a long time, and somebody offered me a gig, and I just had a panic attack. I was like, I don't know how to be on stage. I don't know any of my songs. I don't know any of it. It just all disappeared. And starting small was, for me, was to remember, what did I do before I started doing cover gigs, before I started playing all this sort of stuff. I had to backtrack to the root of where I started. And it was definitely at open mic nights. You know, I went back and I went to an open mic night. It was a small 20-minute set. It was free. It wasn't paid. There was no expectations. It could be anything that I wanted it to be. I could play whatever I wanted it to be, and went back to that small step, you know, and that at the very core of me is what I'm about. You know, I like to just have those zero expectations, and that's where I had to relearn everything again, you know, and go through the process, and eventually get to the point where I was confident again to pick up a guitar and start rehearsing again. And, you know, and just finally I get to the point where I'm doing live streams again, and that kept me gig fit until the point where I was doing live streams in lockdowns. And when we came out, I was ready to go back on stage. So it all started from that one initial point, you know, and that was it there. But that, you're talking about the long game on avoidance, like that, I do that all the time. I just sit there and I wait, and I'm just like, oh, I should pay my bills today. I should do this. I got to call this person. And I just sit there and I just wait, and I just get so much anxiety about just like, I should do this. But then I go and do it, and I'm just like, I push myself past that barrier. And then I'm like, why did I wait so long? You know, like it's just one of those sort of things. It's like, why didn't I call Centrelink sooner? Why didn't I call these people sooner? Why didn't I do this? You know, and yeah, just to break through that it's so hard. It's really, really hard, you know. And I don't know if anyone out there has sort of had those sort of experiences where you sort of just avoid everything into the last minute, you know. But yeah, it's definitely been a struggle. But honoring the weirdness, that was interesting. I like that. I really enjoyed that, because I mean, I'm a bit of a weird person. Yes, Holly. Holly was like, I'm an avoider. Holly's an avoider. Yeah, you feel me on that one. You know, like it's I just avoid every little thing, and I'm like, I know I should do this, especially when it comes to study. Like I'm studying part-time as well, and I'm just like, I should be doing this. I should be doing this.
Well, that's so easy to avoid.
Yeah, it's so easy to avoid, and I just keep pushing
the
it back.
easiest one.
Oh, and then you procrastinate until the last minute. If it ain't last minute, I'm not there. Yes, Holly, see, you get it, you know. That's it, especially with like these grant applications. I'm like, they're always like, do it in advance, do it further ahead of schedule, and I'm just like, night before, I'm just like cramming it all in, you know.
Holly and Kiwat thrive under pressure. So this is my question for you, and I can't see whether we have our gender participation in this, but it's very easy for me to sit here and say, as a female, honor the weirdness, because like, you know, like with me and my gals, it's very easy to sort of sit there and go, oh girl, I'm feeling this way and this way, you know, like we're very, you know, wear our heart on our sleeve, you know, we're quite open about our emotions. I love to know the experience for other genders. I did a workshop in Ballarat on Saturday, and there was about 8 guys and 20 girls, and the guys were just quiet the whole time. And, you know, I sort of turned out and said, how does this actually integrate for you guys? Like, how are you at being vulnerable in this space? Like, what do you think it's like? Hey, what, you know, like, what's it like to, do you feel comfortable just going, oh, I feel anxious right now?
It depends on the environment that I'm in. Like if for myself, I mean, if I'm in a room that's unfamiliar, it'll take me a little bit to sort of assess the space. Yeah. You know, sort of understand where I fit in the room, you know, and I think that's might be a survival thing really, is just to kind of like come into a room, see where I fit, you know, if there's any sort of threats first and foremost, you know, right. Do I feel comfortable? And yeah, and then I can kind of find where I sit. If it's, you know, like if I go into a karaoke bar, for example, that's my house. Like that's my comfort zone. I can go in and I'm like, yeah, give me the stage, give me the mic. I'll start singing some Justin Timberlake. I'm good. That's my thing. That's where I'm comfortable. But if I'm going to a house party or somebody else's place where I don't know anyone, it'll take me a while to, you know, I don't want to be rude and I don't want to overstep boundaries. And that's just me. And then I kind of try and find people that I relate to and then start to slowly sort of fill the room. But that's just myself.
That's so interesting, dude, that like, you know, and I'm wondering how many others feel that way, but for you, a stage, like it's like more comfortable. You know, I feel so much safer at a random person's party than a karaoke bar. So it just again shows like how we have really different experiences that inform, okay, I feel safe in this room. I don't feel safe in this room. This energy is okay and this isn't. But that's awesome, man. And you know, I think too, if you've experienced trauma in your life or any really adverse events, it can help inform a lot of how we're going to come out of this lockdown too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's, yeah. Can you repeat the question again? I was thinking, yeah.
Well, you know, having adverse events or trauma in our background, I tend to find it does inform this fear a little bit. I don't know whether we're just more used to being alert and aware that we need to protect our energy and
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, because sometimes, yeah, like, I mean, we are a collection of our past experiences, and that sort of that paves the way of where we sort of go next and the lessons that we learn, you know. And I guess, yeah, I think I myself, I moved around a lot, you know, and as a young kid, every 3 years moved around, always had to make new friends. So I've got the ability to adapt, but that was just out of pure survival, you know. And it's good that I can go into a room and adapt, but it has caused problems for me to have long-term relationships. I don't know how to engage with long-term relationships. And that's just an identifying factor within myself. Like, socially, it's good. I can connect with people and do that really fast, but for the long-term effects of it, it's sort of beyond me. And I'm only just learning that now after being in Melbourne for 10 years, the longest I've ever been in one place.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, but it's just, yeah, the past trauma definitely does, it definitely does sort of change how I sort of interact with people. Yeah.
You said that was so powerful. We are a collection of our past experiences. That's profound. So if there's anyone I can see, we've got Holly, Layla, Rainy, Damien. If you have any questions, team, just pop them in the chat. If they come to you as we move on through the session, that's okay too.
And if you feel like you want to share a story as well, I can switch your mic on and then we can get you to talk about your story if you feel like it. But also at the same time, if you don't want to, that's cool as well.
Yeah, it's always so cool hearing people's different experiences with, you know, social anxiety, especially because I think we all experience it to a degree. I don't know anyone that isn't impacted by it, especially after COVID to some extent. And so the reason I was poking around there too on your, you know, your past experiences, that we're going to have a look in a wee minute at, you know, how our values can inform the way we interact with others as we're coming out of this, you know, because sometimes I think life is so busy and chaotic. It was busy and chaotic enough without a pandemic. But with that on top of it, you know, I think it's really easy to get a bit hazy on who we are, and who we are is going to inform and define the social interactions that we have on a day-to-day basis, right? But what I'll do is we'll jump to the next slide. If no one wants to share an experience or has a question, that is more than fine.
Yep.
It is a wee group today, so that's understandable.
Still a good group. Still awesome.
It is another level. It's my fave so far.
Yeah, I love it.
Alrighty, bear with me as I get PowerPoint running again. We'll try not to kill your brain cells with slides here.
It's always technology. Technology never works when you want it to. It's the way that it is.
That is a time. All right, here we go. Are we seeing what's your experience? Is that back up?
Yes, we got it.
All right, now this is a QR code. Look, guys, this doesn't have much to do with anything, but it'd be great if just before we head into our grounding exercise, because I want you to feel nice and relaxed for that, and like you don't have to think about anything too boring. If you could grab your phone and take a photo of this. This is a 20-second survey. It would be great if you could do this after the workshop. The reason these surveys are incredibly important, doesn't matter what your feedback is. It can be, it was absolute trash, or it can be, thank you so much for the morning debrief. Government needs to see that's the one. That's it. Thank you. Government just needs to see that you know, you guys are finding them at least beneficial or not so, because this really helps us to get extra funding beyond June next year, so that we've got these mental health webinars and services available ongoing. So thank you in advance if you do have the time to to scan the code.
I got a new phone, so I'm entering it in now.
Thanks. Yeah, let me know how long it takes too. I tried to design it that it takes a mere few moments, but
I'm almost done.
Oh,
That's
brilliant.
great.
Look at you role modeling the key. I appreciate that. Alrighty, so based on just expanding on what the beautiful Kiwat just said, and thank you so much too, brother, for just sharing a bit about your past there. And, I really appreciate your vulnerability. Kiwat's always so, informed about his mental health, and he's got so much self-awareness. It's such a beautiful thing to see. On that, when think about our values too, that can really, really help us. This is one of the easiest exercises you can do for yourself. I recommend doing it, I guess, as regularly as you can, because our values are life concepts that will inform how we interact with other human beings. So they might be based on how we're brought up, spiritual tradition, particular sense of ethics and approach to life that we've adopted through other role models. Someone might value really genuine relationships, and another person will value giving people a fair go or always doing their best. So we all have different values, different worldviews that drive us. And of course, everyone here, I'm assuming, has a very high degree of self-awareness if they even clicked attend. So I'm sure you have a sort of a macro sense of some of the values that are important to you. But considering your core values can help to drive your social interactions as we emerge from the pandemic. And what I do love about a bit of a global disaster, one of the upshots of it is that it's a bit of a blank canvas for those of us that have managed to make it to the other side, and it's really an opportunity, I suppose, to consider who we are again as we kind of emerge into this new community, this new state of Victoria. So some of the, values I've heard in session just over the last few months is I don't like small talk. I like conversations that have meaning. Others have said that downtime is important to them, or feeling busy is important to them. They like to feel energized. They need to have a day full of tasks to define their purpose. A really easy exercise if you're sitting there going, that's all well and good, Bree, but everything's too much right now. I don't even know how I would figure out my basic values in life at the moment. And it's very understandable because a lot of us are feeling a wee bit lost, right? As we've come out of this, it's like, who am I? What is life? What is it all? A nice easy one I like to do is think of 3 to 6 people at most that you admire or you love, or that are role models to you, people that you look up to, and you can consider why they're important to you. They can be public figures, personal role models, friends, parents. Just begin to envision a couple of these people, and I recommend jotting them down if you have the time to do it, or even if you just want to do it in your head and start with one person, and you can begin to think of the values that they embody. So, for example, I really admire my partner because she focuses on the goodness in people more than their flaws. I was born a real cynical person. So I look at that and I think, I really value that. That's something I want to integrate into my own world, right? That she just sees, oh man, yeah, I know that they do this is kind of frustrating, but they have this beautiful quality over here. She always starts with that. Some people admire Adele right now. Adele's just dropped her new album because she's like this swaggy, epic British gal. And she's like, it's about divorce, babes. She's all, people love that about her, right? She's congruent, she's authentic. If you admire Adam Goodes, why do you admire him? Is it his footy playing? Is it his social justice? Is it his compassionate leadership? So as you reflect on the values in those you admire, whether you know them or not, it can help you to define your own values. Even just whipping out your phone, jotting down what they are, it can help you to identify that. It seems like a task that's really left of field of social interactions and social anxiety, certainly, but it's not. This is the kind of stuff that it's the building blocks of who you are, and it will really inform. I actually don't know if I want to spend 4 hours next week with my mother-in-law because I'm just still trying to integrate myself back into the world, and she depletes my energy because my values are kindness, X, Y, and Z. I feel like the mother-in-laws always cop shit. They're always the example that we use.
Yeah.
You know, sister-in-law, father-in-law, brother, whatever. I'm just going in-laws because there tends to be some themes that I see there. What do you think of the value piece? You know, that's what you were kind of touching on it before inadvertently, but does that resonate at all?
Yeah, I guess just because I for myself and for some of my friends that I've sort of like bumped into who've changed pathways, you know, like they've kind of like readjusted what's important to them. They might have gotten out of hospitality and sort of gone into retail because they realized that, you know, that way of life is a little bit draining for them, or just sort of adjusted where your focus needs to be. For me, it's like I realized that after my band split up that I wanted to still pursue music because I have that drive within myself to release my own music. And for the first time in my life, I really want to release my own music, you know, and I don't know where it came from, but that is driven deep into me, you know, and that's my primary focus, and everything else from that is sort of secondary, because that gives me joy and that gives me purpose. That gives me, you know, it fulfills my heart, you know, and that's what sort of I sort of came to, because I was looking at all my other jobs, and I was, you know, working for myself, and I had so many different jobs, you know, running open mic nights, bookings, this and this, and all of it was sort of, I realized, was depleting my energy and taking away from the one thing that really gives me joy and focus in life. So I kind of adjusted where I was at, you know, where my mental health was at. And then, yeah, I sort of just, once I sort of understood this, then everything else sort of focused into it. And
wow.
Yeah, so.
Man, so like identifying your values actually completely shifted sort of how you navigated your actual day-to-day life. So like big decisions.
Yeah, and understanding that, you know, I don't have the energy to put into other things, you know, I don't waste my energy. I put it, you know, I might not be doing a lot of things anymore, but I'm doing big things with a lot of focus and love and energy, you know. It's that's where I'm at with my sort of journey at the moment.
That is huge. And Kiwat, the legend, I was trying to figure out what we're going to do for our final workshop just before Christmas, and Kiwat goes, protecting your energy. And I was like, man, let's swap jobs, you got this, you know. But like, let's go into that more, because that's beautiful and that is so powerful, you know, is like, whereas like my energy is a pie chart, where's it all going? You know, that's huge in mental health, because we feel fragmented if it's going in the wrong places. Yeah,
especially as creators, you know, and in this industry, you know, you put your heart on your sleeve, and, you know, you're very vulnerable. So, you know, protecting your energy from people is, because some people might want to exploit it, but we can go into that. We can go into that further.
There's another workshop right there.
That's another workshop. Keep an eye out for that one. The invite's coming your way, guys.
I mean, if you're here, like, you're probably nodding along, like creativity, it's like you're by default more self-attuned as well. So there's so much to navigate there. Any questions that have come through at all before I jump to the nice wee grounding piece for us, or are we still relaxed?
Still, I think we'll chill.
Alrighty. Cool. So we'll go into this. This grounding exercise too is about 12 to 15. I'm hoping it'll extend to 15, because I just love for this beautiful group that's here to go away and just feel, you know, like, yes, you know, that you're just ready to go about your day. You feel like maybe a wee bit lighter as we come out the other side of this workshop. So just before we jump into it, afterwards, I'll put up some support lines that are available, or helplines as well. If anyone needs an urgent chat, please don't forget that you can connect in with me. You can self-refer. It's not complex at all. Just go to the Music Victoria website, that link I put in, and feel free to email me, and we can have a confidential chat. See, something's come in the chat box there, but that's all good. I'll leave that to Kiwat.
Not a problem. Thanks for letting us know, Randy.
Awesome. All right, team. So just so you know, this grounding exercise, we're going to be focusing on breath work. And the reason that we want to focus on that is because our breathing can completely regulate our nervous system. And we neglect our breath a lot on a day-to-day basis, right? It's very easy to forget. Our breathing literally can save a life, because when adrenaline kicks in too, it's so hard to gain that kind of rational, logical thinking. And this is the first place we should be going. As soon as you can feel stress coming in, focusing on your breath, how much air you're getting into your lungs, it can give you back all that agency that you feel you've lost as things get a little bit tricky. And I know, as we've just talked about mental health, some things might be coming up for people at the moment. So we'll quickly run through this. You can leave at any time. If you're feeling unsafe or you're feeling like you don't want to be here, hanging out with the group and doing this, please feel free to disconnect from the Zoom. Feel free to flick me an email afterwards as well if you'd like a debrief. Alrighty, so I would invite you to turn your cameras off, but you don't have to worry about that. Kiwat, totally up to you. You can stay on the screen if you like, or turn your camera off. But just finding a comfortable position, and maybe if you wish, gently pushing your feet into the floor, just getting a sense of the ground beneath you, you know, remembering that that ground's always there. So you're always here, you're always home. And just fixing your eyes on any spot now. So we'll start this with eyes still open. Any spot in the room that feels comfortable to gaze. You might like to sit upright, sit with your back straight, let your shoulders drop. And just begin to sort of get a sense of the gravity sort of flowing down your spine and anchoring you into the ground. Remembering you feeling that floor beneath your feet, gently pressing your feet in if you need to really ground yourself. Just as our eyes are still open, take a moment to notice what you can see. And take a moment to notice as well what you can hear. And notice how you're sitting. You might want to notice what you're doing with your hands as well. Noticing what we're thinking and what we're feeling in our body too. Taking a moment to notice that there is a part of you in there that recognizes everything that you do, everything that you see, hear, touch, taste, smell, think, and feel. And for the sake of simplicity, let's call this part of you self-awareness, or let's call this part of you awareness. Invite you now to close your eyes or keep them in a fixed spot, whichever you prefer, whichever feels safer. Some people might settle even further if they close their eyes down. And just bring your awareness to your breathing. And for the next few breaths, I'd like you to completely empty your lungs. So try and push all that air out until there's nothing left in them. And then allow them to fill by themselves. As you do that too, I'd like you to observe your breathing as a curious scientist. So imagine you've never encountered breathing before. So as you're taking a big breath in and completely emptying out. A curious scientist who has never experienced breathing before. Notice how once the lungs are empty, they refill all by themselves. So you can take a deep breath in if you want to, but see if you can notice how there's really no need and that it just happens by itself. Notice your breath flowing in and out. Notice your chest moving in and out. Might even notice your abdomen rising and falling. I'd like you, if you can, to reflect on why you came here today. There is something that matters to you. There is something that might be important deep in your heart that motivated you to join this Zoom today. Is it about improving your life? Feeling more comfortable in yourself? What is it? Maybe it's feeling more creative, building better relationships, or coming to terms with something painful. Just do a search inside your heart to clarify why you are here in this Zoom session. And take a moment, in this moment, to reflect on how we got here today. You didn't magically materialize out of thin air. You know, you had to take an action, you had to open the link and click on the session and maybe even reschedule a meeting to be here. You had to find time amongst all the other things in your day and be present for the last 30 minutes or so. And taking a moment to reflect on that. Recognizing that right now you are also taking action. You are sitting here in a chair doing this exercise, not exactly knowing what it involves. Maybe there are all sorts of thoughts whizzing around your head, all sorts of feelings passing through your body, and yet here you are. You're sitting in a chair right now doing this exercise. Once again, I'd like to bring your awareness to your breathing, observing it as a curious scientist who has never encountered breathing before. Noticing the breath flowing in and out. Notice your chest moving in and out. And your abdomen rising and falling. And that's quite nice. Got my hands on my heart during this one. Sometimes it's very settling to put a hand on your heart or a hand on your stomach as well. And inviting you to undertake a challenge here. So for the next few minutes, keeping your attention on your breath, observing it as it flows, and this can be hard because your mind will distract you. It will tell you stories and it will try and grab your attention, pull you away from what you're doing. Your challenge is to see if you can let those thoughts come and go like passing cars and keep your attention on your breath as they do. And let your mind chatter away as if it's a radio playing in the background. And keep your attention on your breath. Notice your breath flowing in and out. Notice your abdomen rising and falling. From time to time, your mind will succeed in distracting you, and it will get you interested in the stories, and you'll lose track of your breathing. And this is incredibly normal. This happens to everyone. It will happen repeatedly. The moment you realize this is happening, just a split second to acknowledge it and note what distracted you, then gently refocus your breathing. Just noticing the breath as the thoughts are coming and going like passing cars. Again, your mind will distract you. It's very normal. This is what minds do. They distract us. And as soon as you realize it, note the distraction, then gently refocus back to the breath. As we continue to breathe together, feelings and sensations in your body will change. You know, you may have really lovely feelings and sensations showing up. Relaxation, calm, peaceful sensations. There may be really shitty sensations coming up. Boredom, frustration, anxiety, maybe a backache. And see if you can allow those feelings to be as they are in this moment. Don't try to control your feelings, just let them be, regardless of whether they are pleasant or a bit poo. Just keeping our attention on the breath as we do this. This is not a relaxation technique. You are not trying to relax. The aim is to allow yourself to feel whatever you are feeling without a struggle. So if there is an unpleasant feeling present, silently name it, either in your mind or out loud. You could say to yourself, oh, here's a feeling of boredom. Here's a feeling of anxiety. Here's a feeling of whatever you're experiencing. Just as we acknowledge it, keeping the attention on our breathing. And that awareness back to the breath now. Now expanding your awareness, noticing your breathing in your body in the chair, your arms, legs, head, neck, chest, tummy. And expanding that awareness even further. As we expand more, noticing your breathing and your body in the chair and all the sounds around you. And gently, gently opening your eyes as you're ready. Looking around where you are, looking at the objects in the room, noticing what you see. Perhaps you're noticing a meditating dog on a screen, or Kiwat, or something in your home. As we come out, you might want to interlink your fingers and have a stretch, noticing yourself stretching, noticing what you are thinking right now, noticing whatever your mind is trying to say about this experience as we come back. Taking a moment to notice that there is a part of you that notices everything you do, and really realizing that power. Just check in for a moment that this part of you can notice your thoughts, notice your feelings, notice your body. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it just there? Thank you very much, team. Feel free to have another stretch. Dig your heels back into the ground. Gently press your feet against the floor as we come back into our day. And as always, it is an absolute honor to hang out with you, Kiwat. It is an extra absolute honor to hang out with you, mate.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Oh, thank you so much. And yeah, that was great. I feel great. I feel really good. I feel really good. And thank you to everyone. Holly, that was relaxing, even though I'm in the office. Yeah, that's how I feel too. I'm like right in the office and I just feel like I can tackle the day now. So thank you so much. It's fantastic. Yeah, we'll be sending out the slides. Yeah, fill in that feedback form. The more data we get, the more stuff that we can do. So thank you very much, Bree. Thank you for your time. Once again, my name is Kiwat project coordinator with Music Victoria. This is Bree Chapman-Stewart, amazing clinician. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be having another one announcing in the next week or two, as well as the Music Victoria Awards and all of these other events that we've gone up before the end of the year. So we've only got a couple of weeks left and that's it. But thank you so much.
Thanks, Layla. Cheers, Damien, Holly.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. See you guys. Bye.